There are presences that never go unnoticed. Beings whose aura imposes silence even before they open their mouths. Perhaps you've noticed, when you enter a room, something changes. Eyes turn, sometimes for no apparent reason. Conversations slow down, as if your sheer energy disrupts the ordinary rhythm. You haven't asked for anything. You're not trying to be noticed, and yet you're being watched. Why? Because something inside you has changed. You are no longer who you were yesterday, and this change, even invisible, is felt. Your steps are different, your gaze is different, even your silence speaks louder than before. You exude a rare stability, an intriguing calm, a light that some cannot name. You have become a living mystery. This mystery attracts. Some approach it, fascinated. They want to understand how you did it. They look for clues in your words, your gestures, your lifestyle. For them, you are proof that transformation is possible, and this idea inspires them. But there are also those who are disturbed by it. Those for whom your serenity is an unbearable mirror because it reflects their own agitation. Your evolution highlights what they have not yet confronted within themselves, and this provokes in them mistrust, jealousy, even rejection. This is why you are studied, scrutinized, analyzed, sometimes openly, sometimes silently. Family, friends, colleagues, strangers, all seek to decipher what you have become. But they are mistaken in thinking that you are hiding a secret formula. There is no magic recipe, no quick path. What they see today is only the result of years of trials, repeated choices, inner battles that no one has witnessed. This is precisely what makes you elusive. Your mystery is not in a technique, but in your being. You have not merely changed, you have transcended. Where others are content to survive, you have learned to be reborn. Where many seek validation from others, you have found peace within yourself. Where the world screams, you have chosen silence as your ally. And it is this silence, this quiet certainty, that makes your existence so enigmatic. You are not a spectacle. You are proof. Proof that true transformation exists. Proof that humanity can rise without artifice, without mask. And it is this mystery, your mystery, that no one can stop studying. 1. Personal and spiritual transformation. There are changes that are not visible at first glance. Mutations that leave no outward scar, but silently shake the soul. You are one of those who cross this secret passage without fanfare, without spectacle. Everything happened inside, where no one dared to really look. Over time, what seemed like fractures became windows, and what appeared to be a fall turned out to be nothing more than a flight in another form. Each trial tore away a part of you that wasn't meant to last. Each pain served as a tool, sculpting your being like raw marble in the hands of an invisible craftsman. What others call suffering, you took as an initiation. The chaos around you was no longer a trap, but a laboratory where you learned to transform your darkness into light, your fears into certainty, your weaknesses into quiet strength. What is striking today is this vibration that accompanies you. It is not noisy. It does not burst into the eyes of the world like a noisy victory. It imposes itself silently. It inhabits your presence, your gaze, your way of walking in a room. You did not need to announce your change. It was inscribed in each of your gestures, in the calm that envelops your words, in the patience that guides your decisions. Your evolution is not an accident, much less a stroke of luck. It is the result of a choice repeated over and over again, choosing to grow instead of running away, choosing to stay centered when everything pushed you to turmoil, choosing to rise above instead of giving in to the gravity of habit. Where others cling to their wounds like trophies, you chose to transform them into solid foundations. It's this invisible constancy that intrigues those who cross your path. They sense that something has changed without being able to put it into words. You exude a peace they've never tasted. You embody a stability they desperately seek. Some see it as an enigma, others as a miracle. But for you, It was just a series of steps, sometimes tiny, sometimes painful, always persevering. The transformation you are carrying is a slow alchemy. You have learned to extract honey from poison, to transform noise into fertile silence, to make solitude a faithful companion. And this alchemy, few people understand, because it cannot be sold. It cannot be taught in a manual. It must be lived, endured, integrated until one day you wake up and realize that you are no longer the same person. This is where you become mysterious. Not because you are hiding something, but because you embody a truth that many do not yet dare to face. It is possible to be reborn without dying. 2. Intrigue and observation of others. Have you noticed? Since you've changed, the looks you get have changed. You're scrutinized, analyzed, questioned, sometimes without saying anything. Even those who pretend not to notice follow you out of the corner of their eye. Your mere presence becomes a subject of study. You didn't ask, but people want to know. They want to understand what happened. Some approach with curiosity. They want to unravel the mystery as if you were hiding a magic formula, a shortcut to inner peace. They ask you indirect questions, suddenly take an interest in your habits, observe how you handle problems. They don't always say what they think, but you feel their gaze searching for a flaw, an explanation. Others, on the other hand, can't stand what they see in you. Your serenity confronts them with their agitation. Your courage highlights their inertia. Your calm becomes a mirror that reminds them how much they're still trapped by their wounds. And some can't accept that. So they criticize, they belittle, they imply that it's all just a facade. They try to test your balance, to provoke a reaction, because if they could bring you down, they'd feel a little less alone in their chaos. And yet, you hold on. You don't react like you used to. You don't chase their validation anymore. You don't justify yourself anymore. And that's incomprehensible to them, because the world they live in is built on the opinions of others, on envy, on comparison. You've left that game, and to leave the game is to become a mystery to those who are still trapped in it. Then there are those close to you, those who have known you for a long time. They notice that you're not the same anymore, but they don't know what to make of it. They sense the difference, but can't define it. Your energy disturbs them. Some are inspired, others intimidated. Sometimes they can't find the words, so they settle for silence or distance. What bothers most is not what you say, it's who you are. Your evolution is living proof that there is another way of living, another way of thinking, and for many, it's too much, too confusing, too demanding, because if you've managed to transform your life, that means it's possible. And that's a truth that some don't want to face. So yes, you are being observed. Yes, you are being analyzed. But remember, it's not a burden, it's proof. Proof that your change is real. Proof that your evolution disturbs, fascinates, inspires. You have become a subject of study, a living enigma, and this mystery is your strength. 3. Contrasting reactions. Imagine this scene. You enter a room, quietly, without trying to attract attention. Yet, glances turn. There's this colleague who observes you with a mixture of fascination and caution. She has noticed that you no longer participate in conversations full of complaints, that you remain calm when everyone else is getting agitated. She approaches, timidly, and finally asks, "But how do you manage to stay so calm?" Her voice betrays more than mere curiosity. It's a call. She too wants to learn to breathe in the storm. Now, let's change the scenery. Imagine a family meal. Between two banal jokes, someone says, "You're not like you used to be. It's like you think you're better than us." The tone seems light, but you feel the weight behind the words. It's not curiosity, it's discomfort. Your evolution is disturbing because it highlights everything that others have not yet dared to face within themselves. And then there are those even more subtle moments. You meet up with an old friend, the one you used to share evenings remaking the world with. But this time, the conversation rings hollow. He can't follow you. Your energy is elsewhere, focused on construction, not nostalgia. You can see in his eyes this mixture of admiration and annoyance. He would like to understand what transformed you, but he prefers to be ironic, as if to protect himself. Have you become a monk or something? Behind the joke is a disguised fear, the fear of being left behind. You experience these contrasts everywhere. Some people cling to you as if they were a source of inspiration. They want to learn, observe, and feel what you radiate. They don't seek to put you down, but to elevate themselves in turn. They ask sincere questions, they listen attentively, and they draw inspiration from your example. Others, on the contrary, become almost invisible adversaries, not always out of malice, but because your transformation is an unbearable mirror. You represent what they could be, but have not yet chosen to become. So, instead of trying to understand, they attack. They look for the flaw, they test your limits, they want to prove that your calm is a facade, that your balance can collapse. It's a strange theater where you play a role without having chosen it. Inspiring for some, provocative in spite of yourself for others. Eyes meet, attitudes are revealed, and you continue to move forward without explaining, without justifying, letting everyone react as they can. These opposing reactions are a sign of one thing. Your change is real, it's visible, it's powerful. You've become a landmark, whether we like it or not. For some, a light. For others, a shadow. But in all cases, you've become impossible to ignore. 4. The new identity. There was a time when your heart beat to the rhythm of other people's expectations, a time when a simple glance was enough to make you doubt, when a careless word could shake you. You chased applause that never came. You collected proofs of love like fragile talismans. You entrusted your worth to the hands of the outside world, and each judgment became a verdict. But today, all that has dissolved. You've walked through the fire of doubt. You've let what wasn't you burn, and from the ashes, something else has risen, a stronger, more grounded version of you. You no longer seek to convince. You no longer seek to please. You no longer wait for validation from the crowd to move forward. There is a quiet certainty within you, not the kind that shouts, but the kind that breathes. It doesn't depend on the seasons. It doesn't tremble before storms. It is like an invisible root that goes deep into the earth, connecting your being to something larger, more immutable. The old you would have given in to manipulation, would have bowed to pressure, but that old you no longer exists. In its place stands a new presence, which no longer collapses under the weight of gazes, which no longer gets lost in the labyrinths of comparisons. You have become unattainable, not because you are hiding, but because you have nothing left to prove. Your silence is worth more than 1,000 justifications. Your calmness is a sufficient answer to doubts and accusations. Your inner peace is a wall that no one can cross, and yet you have not hardened your heart. You haven't become cold or indifferent. You are simply free. Free to walk without asking permission. Free to exist without distorting your essence. Free to love without clinging to gratitude. Free to give without expecting anything in return. It is this freedom that intrigues. It is this scent of truth that disturbs and fascinates. Because few people know this feeling. Being yourself unconditionally, being yourself without excuse. You have stopped negotiating your identity. You now inhabit it fully, like a home finally found after a long exile. And in this house, there are no masks or roles to play. Only you, as you are, standing in your own light. 5. The mysterious features that intrigue. The scene opens in a crowded room. Conversations intersect, laughter erupts, glasses clink. The camera glides through the crowd to you. You say nothing, you don't seek attention, and yet everything seems to gravitate around your presence. There's something about the way you remain still, something about your steady gaze that imperceptibly slows the pace of the world. Coupe, a close-up of your face. We see calm, Not a forced calm, not the kind you put on to appear strong, but a deep, rooted peace, like a river flowing silently beneath the earth. Those who meet your gaze can't explain it. They feel a stability they've never found within themselves, and that's enough to unsettle them. Next shot. Someone gets angry in front of you, raises their voice, tries to provoke. The camera stays on you. Your shoulders don't move. Your breathing remains steady. Your gaze doesn't waver. The tension crushes itself against your silence. And in this contrast, your strength appears, not in outbursts, but in the absence of reaction. A quiet strength that disarms more than a violent retort. Another setting, this time, a success. You're congratulated, applauded, highlighted. The camera waits for an arrogant smile, a posture of superiority. But instead, it captures a slight nod, a simple gratitude, an almost disconcerting humility. Where many would use this moment to swell with pride, you offer your light without crushing that of others. And it's this contrast that's even more disturbing. Succeeding without crushing, shining without blinding. Slow shot of your daily life. Sitting alone, a notebook open in front of you. Walking down the street, attentive to the details no one notices. The sunbeam hitting a wall, the dance of a leaf in the wind, the silence hidden behind the noise. The camera records what you see, and suddenly the viewer understands. You have learned to find beauty in the simplest things. That gaze transforms every moment into a revelation. Last shot, an outstretched hand. Someone falls, becomes discouraged, collapses. You don't hesitate. You lift them up. You encourage, unconditionally, without expectation. The gesture is pure, spontaneous. And the camera lingers on this detail. The way you give without calculation. Perhaps that's the most mysterious thing. Ultimately, it's not a technique nor a secret. It's a combination of rare things. Calm in the face of chaos, humility in success, gratitude in everyday life, the strength to remain human in a world that pushes us to forget. Traits that seem ordinary, but united in a single person, become an impossible mystery to decipher. 6. The perception of others. I don't understand. He's not the same anymore. Before, he doubted everything. Now he moves forward as if he already knew the way. It's true. It seems like he's hiding something. No one changes that quickly, that profoundly. It's suspicious. You're exaggerating. I think it's inspiring. Look at him. He radiates peace. I'd give anything to understand how he does it. Inspiring? You mean frustrating, because while we struggle, he keeps smiling. It's like no problem affects him. Do you think that's normal? Perhaps that's the secret. He no longer fights against life? Secret or not, it annoys me. His serenity throws me right back in the face everything I haven't yet managed to resolve. On the contrary, it reassures me. If he could change, maybe it's possible for me too. Voices intertwine, overlap. Admiration and suspicion. Hope and rejection. Each projects their own truth onto you. Some see you as living proof that change exists, others as an impossible riddle to solve. Do you think he's faking it? Because no one can stay calm all the time. He's got to break down somewhere, right? Maybe. But even when he's struggling, it doesn't show. He stays centered, and that's disturbing. I find him intimidating. Not because he speaks loudly, but because he doesn't need to speak. His presence is enough. Exactly. You feel like he no longer needs validation. And that's annoying, because we spend our time seeking approval from others. He doesn't. In these dialogues, the truth appears between the lines. It's not what you do that destabilizes them, but what you have become. You represent an alternative they had never considered. You are proof that we can live differently, without invisible chains, without dependence on outside gazes. But some people aren't ready for this proof. So they laugh, they criticize, they invent. It's easier than facing the possibility that they, too, could change. And you continue on your way, letting these voices stir like a distant echo. For you now know that their perception no longer belongs to you. It is only the reflection of their own inner battles. 7. The hidden message behind the transformation voiceover. We often believe that transformations happen overnight, like lightning in the sky. But the reality is quite different. Behind every calm look, behind every confident gesture and every calm word, there are years of silent effort, battles fought in the shadows, far from the spotlight. The camera focuses on a worn notebook, filled with hastily written notes, prayers, and doubts. Each page bears witness to a further step in the inner journey. Entire nights spent questioning one's fears, mornings when getting up already signified a victory. This calm that others find mysterious was not built overnight. It is the result of an invisible discipline, repeated again and again. Shot of a tired but standing body. You chose growth over comfort. You chose to face pain rather than run from it. And each time you chose the more challenging path, a part of you grew stronger. It was this repeated choice that shaped your strength, not some magical shortcut. Yet on the outside, it all seems unreal. Those observing you have not seen the years of inner training. They have not heard the whispered prayers. They have not felt the weight of the tears shed. They do not know the lonely evenings, when the only answer was silence. What they see is the end result. A serenity that seems mysterious, almost supernatural. The documentary continues, a snapshot of daily routines, waking up at dawn, moments spent in silence, life choices aligned with a clear vision. All of this seems mundane, but when put together, it becomes an alchemy, a patient construction that ultimately gives the impression of a sudden transformation. The voiceover continues, more serious. What others don't understand is that your evolution is nothing spectacular. It wasn't shaped by a single event, but by a succession of micro-decisions. Saying no to what doesn't elevate. Saying yes to what requires courage. Persevering through discomfort, welcoming storms like silent masters. That's the real secret. There isn't one. Only inner work, perseverance, and a loyalty to oneself that few dare to maintain. And it is precisely this truth that observers often refuse to accept. Because if your transformation is the result of invisible work, it means that theirs is possible too. And this idea, for many, is more frightening than inspiring. What others are trying to understand about you is not a secret to be revealed. It is not a magic formula, nor a method that can be copied. It is a truth engraved in your flesh, a wisdom forged by your trials, an inner fire that no one can take away from you. You have become mysterious not because you are hiding something, but because you embody what the majority do not dare to face. The possibility of liberation, of transformation, of rebirth. And in this noisy world, where everyone is chasing easy answers, your mere presence is an enigma. A disturbing enigma, an inspiring enigma. An enigma that cannot be explained, but which can be felt. This is why we are observing you. This is why we are analyzing you. This is why we are trying to unravel your mystery. But the truth is that this mystery cannot be solved. It must be experienced.